Hello friends, I welcome you to yet another session of verbal ability. The agenda of the session today is to discuss on vocabulary. Today we are starting with a series of sessions on vocabulary. Vocabulary is an area which is important for various competitive examinations like GRE, GMAT, CAT and various other management entrance examinations which are conducted at graduate and undergraduate level. It is equally relevant for various undergraduate courses which are conducted for admission into law colleges. So, we'll be discussing on different aspects of vocabulary today. By the end of the session, we will be able to learn what are the different approaches of doing vocabulary and how should we ensure a better retention of words. So, let us discuss. The idea is to have a discussion on vocabulary through picture associations first of all, and then in the second half of the session we'll be talking about different route approaches. So let us start with the first word. As you can see on the screen, the first word is abhor. So now we have a picture. Just have a look at the picture and see if the word makes some sense to you. Now as you can see, this guy seems to be very disgusted out of the activity that he is performing, and the girl sarcastically remarking, "Are you enjoying your course?" So he basically abhors this activity. So abhor, a clue to remember the word can be, abhor has been divided in two parts. One is absolutely, the other one is horrible. So abhor, A-B absolutely, H-O-R horrible. So abhor basically means to hate something very intensely. Now we have a few synonyms to the word given: to bristle or to shudder. Certain other synonyms can be words like detest, loathe, abominate. Let us have a better understanding of the word with certain sentences. I abhor all the TV soaps showing a regressive portrayal of women. So abhor here basically implies to detest or to hate something. Let us continue with the next word. Diffident. Let us look at this picture. If this picture makes some sense to you. Oh, I ain't good at nothing. So this guy, this boy seems to be very diffident about everything that he does. Could you get a clue? Who's diffident? Yes, diffident is the opposite to confident. Difficulty being confident. When you cannot be confident, you are diffident. Or you could also say somebody who lacks in confidence is actually diffident. Certain synonyms to the word are timid, shy and bashful. Do you recall the word that we did prior to that? The word for hating or detesting? Yes, the word was abhor. And now the word that we've done is diffident. Diffident is basically for somebody who lacks in confidence, or somebody who's timid or shy or bashful. Let us continue. The next word here in front of us is enervate. So this old gentleman saying, "I am so weak." You could also say, "I am so enervated." So enervate is actually to become weak, to weaken the strength of health. That is enervate. Now a clue, as you can see here on the screen, is degenerate. So enervate could also be taken in the sense of anything that degenerates you, anything that weakens your strength, particularly of health. So even a word like weak could also be taken as a synonym to the word enervated. Certain synonyms to the word are tire out, fatigue, enfeeble. Let us look at the next word now. Frenetic. Does this picture make some sense to you? What do you think would be the meaning of the word frenetic? Frenetic. Frenzied plus hectic. The meaning of the word frenetic is basically the state of extreme excitement and action. So frenetic is an adjective which is used for somebody who is wildly excited and active. As you can see on the screen, this star performing and people actually going frenetic behind him. People going wildly excited and active. Certain synonyms are lunatic. Lunatic is actually the state of being psychologically disordered. Untamed, one who cannot be controlled. Unrestrained is also the same. So frenetic basically implies somebody who's wildly excited and active. Do you remember the word with A for hatred? The word was abhor. Yes. What was the word with E for becoming weak? The word was enervated. The next word here is impetuous. Who is impetuous? Do you have an idea? Let's look at this picture. We are going to Bali for no reason at all. So impetuous. The clue here is impulse gets to us is impetuous. So what is impetuous? Impetuous is basically a word that is characterized by sudden energy and emotion. Outburst of sudden energy and emotion is what you mean by impetuous, and this is an adjective. Certain synonyms are words like impulsive and passionate. So impetuous is basically the outburst of sudden energy and excitement. Impulsive and passionate would be synonyms to the word impetuous. The next word here is implacable. Let's look at this picture. Okay, calm down now, buddy. The other person saying, and nothing gonna calm me down. So somebody who cannot be appeased, somebody who cannot be pacified, somebody who cannot be satisfied very easily. Implacable. The clue is impossible to make peaceable. Somebody who is impossible to be appeased or satisfied is what we mean by implacable. Pitiless, unbending and unforgiving. Unbending, when you say, you are pointing on to a word like rigid and adamant. So to a great extent the word implacable is also related to the same idea. One who cannot be satisfied, one who cannot be appeased. So the next word on the screen is listless. What do you want to do tonight? Nothing. So listless is basically somebody who's very weak and somebody who's very inactive and lazy. So wish listless is the clue. The meaning, as we said, is indifferent, one who does not take much interest in anything, one who's lazy, or one who's unwilling to act or even move. The synonyms are words like indolent, languid, lethargic. Certain other words can be words like lackadaisical, if you've heard of it. Lackadaisical is also lazy and lethargic. Languid is also the same. There is another word like sluggish. Sluggish is also listless and indifferent. The next word here now is mercurial. Look at this interesting picture. See if it makes some sense to you. So at a point of time, this person says, release the prisoners. And just within a while, he says, no. On second thought, hang them. So that's a drastically opposite idea that he's coming out with. So this is what we mean by a mercurial person, a mercurial personality. So from merciful to furious. So very interesting association here. Let's look at the meaning. Mercurial is somebody who's very volatile by nature and somebody who's unreliable due to his fluctuating nature. So mercurial is one who is subject to rapid and extreme changes in mood, whose mood changes at a very fast pace. Good Mercury was noted for swiftness. Certain synonyms are words like capricious, volatile, and unpredictable. Now, we should keep in mind a word like mercurial doesn't have a positive connotation. This has a negative connotation. So, words like fluctuating and flexible, which are positive, cannot be taken here. We can take negative words like capricious. Caprice is again volatility, volatile and unpredictable, because the person is very mercurial by nature. His mood changes at a very fast pace. You cannot rely on him. You cannot predict at the next moment how would he be reacting like. The next word now, rancorous. Let's look at the picture. Nurse, nurse, come back here. You miserable shrew. I'll get even with you if it's the last thing that I do. So, rancorous is basically an adjective for being ill-willed or hateful towards somebody. So, as you can look at the clue, anger plus. Certain synonyms are words like acrimonious. Acrimonious literally means bitterful, or which is very sharp in the negative sense. Words like begrudging, words like resentful. When you are full of anger, when you are full of resent, you are rancorous or you are resentful. Let us continue with the next word, which is reticent. A very nice picture here. There are two boys who are talking like anything. There is one who's a little shy, who's not willing to talk, and that is why the other two starts laughing at him. So, reticent. Reticent, the clue here is retiring plus silent. So, one who is almost taken a sort of retirement from talking, one who doesn't talk much, one who remains silent is reticent. One who's reluctant to speak or one who's shy by nature is reticent. Can you think over a few antonyms to the word reticent? Have you heard of a word like loquacious? Who's loquacious? Loquacious is one who talks a lot, one who talks in a very repetitive manner. So, loquacious could be an antonym to this word. A word like talkative, a word like loquacious, a word like circumloquacious are all antonyms to the word. Reticent, as we discussed, is one who's reluctant to speak, one who's shy, one who doesn't talk much due to his shy nature. A few synonyms to the word are words like taciturn, words like reserved and tight-lipped. So, all of them are synonyms to the word. Again, we should keep in mind a word like reticent is having a negative connotation. It is not taken in positive sense and hence it is not encouraged much. Now, the next word coming up here on the screen is staid. So, a very interesting clue again here, straight laced. Let's look at this picture. Here you go, dude, drink up. No, that would be wrong. I don't turn 21 until tomorrow. That means I'll be turning 21 tomorrow. And before that, the law doesn't allow me, so that is why I cannot take it. So, staid is basically straight laced and having a correct sense of behavior. Certain synonyms are words like somber, demure, and steady. And since we know the word is positive in connotation, you cannot have negative ideas coming along with that. So, as we discussed, a word like staid is basically somebody who's straight-laced and who has a very sincere and correct set of behavior to follow. The next word coming up here on the screen is stoic. Now, stoic is somebody who's indifferent to emotions or pain. Happiness, sadness, emotions, pain don't affect him. He's indifferent to all of them. So, this is what we mean by stoic. Now, as you can see in the picture, there are many things which are around this guy, which are taking place around this guy, and he seems to be very indifferent to whatever things are happening. So, this is exactly the trait of a person who is stoic by nature. Stony and icy is what we mean by stoic. Let's look at the sentence. All human events are preordained. Complaining is a waste of time. So this is ideally the ideology of a person who is stoic by nature, who is indifferent to different kind of emotions or pain. Let's continue with the next word, which is swagger. Let's look at this picture. Look out, ladies, Mr. Handsome is back in town. So here the person seems to be very boastful about what he belongs to, what he thinks that he is. So this is what is swagger. Swaying bragger is swagger. Or the meaning of the word as it is there is, swagger is one who demonstrates excessive pride, to boast or to strut. Now we should remember that this word is again a little negative in the connotation. When you have pride, it's always good, but having excessive pride is always taken negative. So somebody who's boastful, somebody who struts is a swagger. The synonyms are words like brag, show off and parade. So all of them are a little negative in the connotation. The next word is tepid. So what is tepid? Let's look at this picture. Hey, what gives? This tea isn't cold or hot. Yes, it is quite tepid. Now I think the word would have made some sense to you. Tepid is something which is neither too hot nor too cold, something which is lukewarm, something which is moderate in degree or temperature. Tepid is also taken for an individual or a being who is neither very enthusiastic nor very dull. So somebody who's of moderate degree is tepid. Temperature is middling is what we mean by tepid. The synonyms are words like lukewarm. It is used for somebody who lacks in emotions. Synonyms are words like apathetic. Apathetic is again somebody who's indifferent, somebody who's lukewarm, who is not much affected by emotions, who is not very enthusiastic by nature. The next word here is torpor. So what is torpor? As you can see in the picture, there is a lot of inactiveness, there is a lot of laziness being showed in the picture here. So torpor is laziness, inactivity or dullness. Synonyms are words like sluggishness. Sluggish, as we have learnt earlier, is somebody who is lazy and lackadaisical. So torpor similarly implies a state of being lazy, a state of inaction or dullness. Sluggishness, indolence and sloth. The next word here is trepidation. What is trepidation? Trepidation is a state of doubtfulness. It is a state of uncertainty which involves a little bit of fear also. Let's look at this picture. The guy has put his mouth in the lion and then lion seems to be killing him now. So that's a state of uncertainty and fear also at the same time. Synonyms are words like apprehension, consternation and dread. So all of them imply a state of uncertainty and fear. Antonym can be a word like intrepid. Intrepid is one who's fearless and audacious, who takes the risk of going to the extreme of something. He's not afraid of anything, he takes risk about different things. The next word now is worry. Worry is somebody who's very careful and conscientious. He's very watchful about different things. So worry and scary, this is the clue. Let's look at this picture. Come on and jump already. I don't know if this is such a good idea, but still he is jumping. So worry is basically when you are very careful and meticulous about your actions. Cautious, judicious, who thinks about all the options and then takes his decision. Vigilant. Vigilant is also somebody who's very careful and alert. So that was about vocabulary through picture associations. Before we move on to the next approach of taking vocabulary through roots, let us revise different words that we covered in the session so far today. So we started with the first word, that was abhor. Abhor was for hating, for detesting, or loathe or abominate. Abhor is to hate something very intensely. The next word is diffident. Diffident is one who lacks in confidence, one who is shy and bashful. A word like timid could also be taken here. The next word is enervate. Enervate is to weaken or to become weak. Synonyms are words like tire out, fatigue, and enfeeble. The next word coming up was frenetic. Frenzied and hectic was the clue. The meaning of the word was one who's lunatic, one who's untamed, who's wildly excited, one who cannot be controlled and restrained. The next word was impetuous. Impetuous is one who's characterized by the outburst of sudden emotion and energy. Synonyms were words like impulsive and passionate. The next word was implacable. Implacable is one who cannot be very easily satisfied or appeased. Synonyms are words like pitiless, unbending, and unforgiving. The next word was listless. Listless is one who is lazy and indifferent. Words like indolent, languid, and lethargic were the synonyms to the word. The next word is mercurial. Mercurial is who's very volatile and whose nature and mood is subject to rapid and extreme changes. Words like capricious and unpredictable are the synonyms. The next word was rancorous. Rancorous is one who's bitter, who's hateful, and who is ill-willed. The next one was reticent. Reticent is one who does not speak much, who's reluctant to speak, and who's shy-natured. Synonyms were words like taciturn, reserved, and tight-lipped. The next word here is staid. Staid is characterized by straight-laced sense of correct behavior. Synonyms are words like somber, demure, and steady. Stoic. Stoic is one who is indifferent to emotions or pain. They don't affect him much. Swagger. Swagger was one who is very boastful. Tepid. Tepid is one who's lukewarm or apathetic, who's indifferent and not much enthused by different activities. The next word was torpor. Torpor is laziness or sluggishness. Trepidation is basically apprehension, a state of uncertainty, fear, and consternation. Worry. Worry is one who is extremely cautious, judicious, and careful about something. Words like vigilant and alert could be synonyms to this word. So now, after understanding words through picture associations, we come to the next part of the session today, which is understanding vocabulary through roots. Now, what is a root? Root is an integral part of a word without which the word does not make much sense. Roots would help us in understanding the words in a better manner, and they would also be helping us in having a better retention of the words. So let us start discussing. So we start with the first part of roots, which is a prefix. So the first prefix, as you can see, is a or an. A or an, if it is added to a word, it would become negative, and you can add not or without to the meaning of the word. Let's look at some examples. A word like atheist. So do you know who's a theist? theist is somebody who's a firm believer of God, somebody who believes in God very firmly. A theist is one who does not believe in God. So as we said, if a or an is added to a word, it would give it a negative meaning. So a theist, one who does not believe in God. The next word, anarchy. What is anarchy? Archy is a root for a rule or order or government. Anarchy is a state of utter chaos when there is no order, when there is no government. So an also implies not or without. So anarchy is a state of chaos or a state of no order. The next word, anonymous. Anonymous is again somebody who's without an identity, one who doesn't have an identity. So without name. Apathy. What is apathy? Apathy shares the same root as sympathy and antipathy. As we know, sympathy is showing positive feelings towards somebody. Antipathy becomes showing negative feelings. Apathy, when you don't have any feeling at all, when you are indifferent. So apathy again for no feeling, without emotions. So a or an, when they are added to a word, it would give it a negative meaning, or you could also add not or without to the meaning of the word. After understanding the usage of a or an, let's come to the next root, which is ab. Ab is also a prefix. When it is added to the front of the word or the beginning of a word, it would give it a meaning of away from. Let's look at some examples. A word like absent. Absent is again being away from a work environment or a class or a particular place. So not present. Abduction. Any idea what is abduction? Abduction is when somebody is kidnapped and he or she is taken away from his people. So ab is again for away. The next word, aberrant. Aberrant is basically a deviation when you move away from a structured path. So abnormal. The next root here is anti. So anti is again a negative root which implies against or opposite. As we took one example earlier, sympathy, positive. Antipathy, having negative feeling or a strong dislike towards somebody. Let's look at some examples. Words like antiseptic. So again, it gives it a negative meaning, disinfected. Antipathy, having a strong dislike. The next root after learning a, anti and ab is auto. Any idea what is auto? Auto is self. Have you heard of a word like autocracy? What is autocracy? Autocracy is basically self-rule or monarchy. When there is one person who's ruling the system is autocracy. Automobiles, the vehicles which are self-run. Automatic, self-operating, running on its own. Autograph, a person's own signature, self-written. So now we come to the next root, which is bene. What would be bene? Let's talk about a few examples. A word like benefit. What is benefit? Benefit is any sort of profit that you get. Do you think benefit can ever be bad? No, benefit always has to be good. So bene means anything which is good. And you should remember again, bene is a prefix. You cannot add it to the end of the word. It has to be always in the beginning. So ben or bene means good or well. Certain other prefixes which have the same meaning are bon, B-O-N, even ben, B-E-N. So all of them have the same meaning of good or well. Bonjour. Any idea what is bonjour? In French, when you wish somebody bonjour, you are wishing him a good day. Bon voyage, have a good journey. When somebody goes out and you wish him bon voyage, that means you are wishing him or her a good journey. So ben, bon, bene are all for same. Beneficial. Something which is beneficial can never be bad. It has to be always good. So ben, bene and bon, as we said, is something related to good. Beneficial, something which is helpful to you. Benevolent, who is benevolent? Benevolent is somebody who's very charitable by nature and is philanthropist. Now, who's a philanthropist? Philanthropist is one who believes in helping others, one who loves mankind, one who does not think bad about people, one who doesn't have wrong intentions for people. So, benevolent is one who's kind, one who's caring, and one who thinks good. Benefit, as we discussed. Benefit is an advantage. It cannot be negative. Benefit does not imply disadvantage. It is for a positive thing. The next root coming up here on the screen is chron. Any idea what is chronology? Chronology is basically the study of things in a timely order. When you say chronological order, that means the sequence in which the events have taken place. So chron is for time. Chronology, as we discussed, is the sequential order. Chronic, constant. When you say he has been suffering from a chronic disease, that means he has been suffering from the disease for a long time. It has been continuing for a particular period of time. So chronic is for constant. What is chronicle? Chronicle is maintaining a record or a history. The next root coming up here is circum. Circum is again used as a prefix. That means it again has to come in the beginning of the word. Circum is for a round or a circle. Circumstance. So when you talk about a circumstance, you are revolving around a particular situation. Circumference, I believe all of us know. Circumference of a circle, when you say, you are referring to the boundaries. The next root coming up here is D. What is D for? D is again for away, from, or down. Let's talk about a few examples. Detach. When you say detach, you are moving away from something. It is opposite to attach. Attach indicates a constant attachment or togetherness or being together. Detach, on the other hand, is the opposite. Detach means to discontinue. Derange. Derange is again in the sense of moving away or disturbing. Delay. Delay is again a setback or away from time. Defy is to disobey. So D as a root, D as a prefix basically again implies a meaning of from, away, or down. The next root coming up here is dict. So what is a dictionary? Dictionary is a set of words. It's a group of words. So dict is basically for a word or an order. Dictate, dictator, all of them use the same root dict. So dict is for a word or order. Dict is for speak, as we said. So when you say predict, that means you foretell, you speak in advance. Your verdict. Verdict is the result, or to speak at the end. The final result or the conclusion is verdict. A dictionary. Dictionary is a word list or a glossary. Again covers the list of words. So the next root coming up here is dyn or dyna. A word like dynamic uses the same root dyna. So dyn or dyna is for power. Let's look at the word dynamic. Dynamic is for energetic. One who's full of all the energy is dynamic. Dynamite, since you know, is again for explode. Excess of power is dynamite. Dynasty. Dynasty is again the transfer of authority or power. So this implies empire. So dyne or dyna was for power or authority. What is equi for? Equi is for equal. So when you say equidistant, that means some point which is at equal distance from two other points. So something which is in center is equidistant. Equilateral, something which has all sides which are equal. So when you say this is an equilateral triangle, that means you are talking about a triangle which has all sides of the same size. What is equilibrium? Equilibrium is basically to maintain a balance or a trade-off. Now, after learning prefixes of different varieties, we'll talk a little bit about certain suffixes. So, what are suffixes? As we said, prefix is something which is added in the beginning of the word. Suffix, on the other hand, changes the meaning of the word by being added at the end. As a prefix in certain cases drastically changes the meaning of the word. We saw some examples of an or anti. They change the meaning of the word completely. A suffix generally does not change the meaning of the word. It would just add some part of speech to the word. So, we'll talk about the suffixes today which create verbs with the meaning cause to be. Let's look at certain suffixes. The first suffix coming here is ise. That means the words which end with ise change the meaning of the word to cause to be or to become a reason for something. Examples are characterize, symbolize, specialize, visualize. Now, when you say specialize, that means the person specializes in something, it causes to be something. The next suffix is ate. The words which end with ate and imply the same meaning, cause to be. Differentiate, duplicate, fabricate, fy now, classify, exemplify, simplify, justify. The prefix n now, en. Awaken, fasten, shorten, etc. So as we learned, suffixes don't change the meaning of the word drastically, they just add some part of speech to the word. Now, suffixes which create adjectives by being added to nouns, verbs and adjectives. So central, al, when it is added to a noun, it becomes an adjective, central. Political, politics, when added al becomes an adjective. National, same thing again, nation, a noun, al being added to it becomes an adjective. Optional, professional, etc. ent, differ, differ is a verb. When you add ent to it, it becomes an adjective. Dependent, depend is a verb again. ent, when it is added, it becomes an adjective. Excellent, excel, remember, is a verb. Excellent makes it an adjective. Attractive, attract is a verb. When you add ive to it, it becomes an adjective. Imaginative, effective and repetitive. So repeat is a verb, IVE makes it an adjective, so repetitive. So these are a few suffixes AL, IVE and ENT that create adjectives by adding nouns, verbs or adjectives with certain suffixes. Able, drinkable, countable, avoidable. So avoidable is again a verb. When ABLE is added to it, it becomes an adjective. OUS, continuous. Continuous is a verb. Dangerous. Danger is again a verb, but dangerous is an adjective. Famous. Fame is a verb. OUS, when it is added, it becomes an adjective. Now, the suffixes that create nouns by adding to nouns and verbs. Let's look at certain examples. The words which end with TION or SION. Alteration. So alter is a verb. TION, when it is added to it, it becomes a noun. Demonstration, expansion, admission. So all of them are verbs. When ION or TION is added to them, they become nouns. ER, advertiser, driver, silencer, computer. So all of them are again verb forms. Advertise, silence, drive, compute. ER, when it is added, they become all adjectives. MENT, develop is a verb. Development is a noun. Punish, verb. Punishment, a noun. Unemployment. Then now let's understand this. Employ is the basic root. Un is a prefix to it. Ment, on the other hand, is a suffix. Age, breakage. Break is a verb. Breakage becomes a noun. Wastage. Waste is a verb. Wastage becomes a noun. Package. Pack is a verb. Package makes it a noun. Denial, proposal, refusal, dismissal. In all of these cases, refuse, dismiss, propose and deny are verbs. AL, when it is added, it becomes a noun. Ship, friendship. Friend is an adjective. Friendship becomes a noun. Citizen, adjective. Citizenship becomes a noun. In the similar cases, leader is an adjective. Leadership makes it a noun. Now, here we've come to the end of the session, but before we wind it up, let's revise the words that we covered in the class today. So firstly, we started with abhor. Do you remember what was the meaning? Abhor was to hate. Diffident. What was diffident? Diffident is the opposite to confident. Enervate. Enervate is to loosen the strength, to become weak. Frenetic. What was frenetic? Frenetic is being excessively emotionally charged. Impetuous. Impetuous is again uncontrollable. Implacable. One who cannot be controlled. Listless. Lazy. Mercurial was for volatile. Then we talked about rancorous. We discussed about reticent, staid, stoic, swagger, tepid, torpor, trepidation, and worry. Now let's look at the meanings of the words once again. Abhor was to hate. Diffident is lacking in confidence. Enervate is to weaken. Frenetic, wildly excited. Impetuous, passionate. Implacable, impossible to satisfy. Listless, lazy. Mercurial, extreme change in mood. Rancorous, hateful. Reticent, shy. Staid, steady. Stoic, lacking emotions. Swagger, brag. Tepid, lukewarm. Torpor, laziness. Trepidation, fear. Worry, cautious. So here we've come to the end of the session. In today's session, we talked about learning vocabulary through picture associations. We also discussed about suffixes and prefixes to some extent. We'll continue with the same agenda in the coming session. Hope to see you there. Thank you.